Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Goonie here, bringing another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll be talking about Alexis Sanchez, and then also give you a little bit of a preview to the big game this Sunday coming up against Manchester City. First on Alexis Sanchez, I'm going to go full homo on this one. I don't care if you call me biased and call me a homer, call me what you will, but to piggyback what my title of my last episode was, is Alexis Sanchez is the best player in the English Premier League right now. I don't think anybody, other than maybe Sergio Aguero, but he's been out here and there, can't stay healthy like normal. Uh, he's maybe the only player in the English Premier League that can come even close to Alexis Sanchez. Um, there's no other player in the Premier League right now that means more to their team than Alexis Sanchez. That includes Sergio Aguero. That includes Eden Hazard, and they have other players. Most of our best players were out most of this year. You're given Aaron Ramsey's been out for I believe a total of 2.5 months. I believe. Mesut Ozil's been out for 3 months. Theo Walcott is just coming back into the side. You're talking about some of our best players, some of our you given Theo Walcott, even Aaron Ramsey from his last season, even Giroud as well, as far as goal scorers go, been out most of the year, most of the season. Um, and no one means more to their team than Alexis Sanchez does to Arsenal. Without him, without him being into the side this season, I wouldn't doubt that Arsenal would currently be somewhere around 12th or 13th in the table, because that's how bad the rest of the team has been playing throughout the entire season almost. And it's because of him of where we're at currently. A lot of the players have been stepping up as of late in the last about month and a half. One being Santi Cazorla. He's really stepped up his game for the last about month and a half, even 2 months, to where we've been kind of waiting for this. It's been kind of like a waiting game with Santi Cazorla of when he's going to get back to his best, and we've been seeing that from him. The other player that has really kind of adapted to Alexis Sanchez's play and his style of play is Oxlade-Chamberlain. Him more than anybody. You can even throw Danny Welbeck in there, but Danny Welbeck has always been a guy who just gives everything that he has. Especially with Manchester United, you could see when he was playing with them, he was always running up and down the pitch, always had a great work rate. But as far as like Arsenal players go, sometimes they disappear. Sometimes they don't give 100%. You can see that on the pitch sometimes. Sometimes it's due to overplaying them, running them into the ground. But as far as Alexis Sanchez go, there's no stopping him. There's no such thing as stop. He's going 100 miles an hour for 90 minutes. Of course, like I said, the one guy who's really adapted to his play and really has taken what he does on the pitch, game in and game out, is Oxlade-Chamberlain, and that's great that he is doing that, because he's still a young player. I think he just turned 21, I believe, and he still has a lot of years to grow and a lot of years to get better. I know England must be loving this, watching the transformation here of Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yes, he's not banging in the goals like everybody wants him to, but that will come in time. He has a great shot to him. He just needs to learn to control it a lot better than he has been, especially this year. Sometimes he's going 40 rolls up because he's so excited. He needs to learn patience, like Alexis Sanchez. That's one of the things that makes Alexis Sanchez, as fast as he runs, as fast as he goes for 90 minutes, he still has that patience about him. He still knows when he's in that 18-yard box to control himself. And that's something that Ox needs to really learn. But he's adapting to his style of play. He's going for 90 minutes hard every single game he's out there. And I think Ox knows he needs to do that because, you have Theo Walcott sitting there, you have Danny Welbeck sitting there, you have even Joel Campbell sitting there ready to take over that spot. But Alexis Sanchez and his work rate and what he gives to the team, I mean, it's it's just a revelation. It's something that we've been screaming for at Arsenal, for a player like this to come in, for Arsenal to buy a player like this to take us to the next level. Of course, we can't get to that next level because we have so many injuries. I thought after this summer, if we did sign a DM or even another center back, that we could really challenge for the league and we could really actually win the league for the first time in so many years. Thierry Henry said it best. He had a quote in the last couple days. Of course, he was there against Stoke City with him and Robert Perez, watching the game, watching Alexis Sanchez, and he went on to say that Alexis Sanchez is the best signing that Arsenal has had in the last 5 or 6 years. And that's coming from the King himself. And of course, when he talks, everybody listens, and everybody pretty much agrees with him on top of that. This type of player, I mean, we haven't seen this type of player at Arsenal in a long time, who's willing to give everything that he has for 90 minutes. The last player you could say that was kind of like that, but didn't have the pace, obviously, was Cesc Fabregas. That's why so many people loved him, because he gave everything that he had for 90 minutes. It didn't matter if we were 2-0 down or 3-0 down, he was still giving everything that he had. And that's the way Alexis Sanchez plays. Of course, with a lot faster pace, obviously. The way he attacks the ball, the way he attacks defenders, the way he tracks back. I mean, there is not one bad thing you can say about him. It still boggles my mind that Barcelona was willing to let him go. A lot of people are retweeting kind of like a famous tweet going around that one pundit said that Barcelona just won the lottery by getting £35 million for Alexis Sanchez. That guy is eating his words right now. That guy is wishing that he never made that tweet because he looks like a fucking idiot. I think everybody knew what kind of player we were probably going to get with Alexis Sanchez, and we knew for him coming here that he was going to score more goals than he was at Barcelona, because let's face it, Barcelona is Messi and that's it. It's all about Messi. Everything surrounds Messi. Players are bought because of Messi to surround him with players. But it's still shocking that they would let a player like this go for a Luis Suarez, who is 28 now. Alexis Sanchez has just turned 26, I believe. Still has 4, 5, 6 years left in him of prime years that hopefully we'll be able to see. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans are saying, well, I hope we can keep him. Why would he want to go anywhere else? He already experienced the Barcelona thing. And of course, if you take Real Madrid and Barcelona, they're basically kind of like the same club. They spend a lot of money, they get all the top players. But again, when you play for those type of clubs, your name is not going to be on the headline. If you look at Barcelona's last season, when Messi was out for basically almost like the first half of the season, Alexis Sanchez was the guy who kept them afloat, who kept them top of the table, who kept them going in Champions League. And then when Messi came back, all of a sudden he dropped out, because it's so much about Messi. It's get Messi the ball. That's it. That's what Barcelona is now. That's why I think too that they can't win Champions League. They're finally bringing players in like a Neymar, like Suarez, even to take the load off of Messi. But at the same time, Messi has such a huge ego that a lot of pundits and a lot of media members like to not report about, that he has such a huge ego. I know a lot of it's starting to come out now of how he's causing problems within Barcelona, and Barcelona is even contemplating of selling him, which they can't because they're on a transfer ban. I believe they can't buy or sell players for the next year and a half, which is going to be kind of funny. But at the same time, letting a guy like Alexis Sanchez go is just mind-boggling, because what you're seeing of him now. And like I said, a lot of Arsenal fans are saying, well, I hope we can keep him. Where is he going to go? Honestly, who can afford him at this stage? Manchester United, maybe Manchester City. I don't think Arsenal would be stupid enough to do it twice and let him go to Chelsea. And honestly, I don't think he would even want to go there. This style, people call it ticky-tack. I call it beautiful football. I call it exciting football. That's the way Arsenal plays. That's the way Barcelona plays. Very few clubs in the world plays like us. So a lot of people are saying, well, it's a shocker that he's playing this well. Why? He's very physical, even though he's only 5'7". He's built like a tank. He, I mean, his pace is overwhelming at times. I mean, he just can fly by people at any given point. But again, why would he want to go somewhere else? Why would he go back to Barcelona? I think Alexis Sanchez. I mean, let's face it here. As much as he is humble, every footballer has an ego. Every footballer wants to be the man. Every footballer wants his name on the headline, regardless of how humble they are, of where they came from. I know Alexis Sanchez came from a very he was in poverty, obviously, in Chile. Everybody knows the stories by now. But why would he want to go back to any of those clubs when he's the man here? I think that's what he wanted most, was to be recognized. He wasn't recognized. He was just another guy, unfortunately, at Barcelona. Same with Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas left Arsenal. He thought he was going to go to Barcelona and be the man and be just like he was here at Arsenal. And he found out real quick that he wasn't. He was just another guy. Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, all ruled the headlines. Fabregas was just another guy. Same with Alexis Sanchez, unfortunately. Let's just be thankful, though, that Barcelona was stupid enough to give him to us. And right now, at £35 million, it's a bargain. Because if we would sell him after the season, if he keeps going like he is right now, we could probably sell him off, if anybody would want him, for 70, 80 million pounds easily. But let's just hope the Arsenal board and Arsene Wenger isn't stupid enough to sell him off. I think that's the one concern that you do have. But I would like to think that with Arsene Wenger as the manager, he wouldn't allow that to happen. The only way that's going to allow to happen, if you're like RVP or Cesc Fabregas and you hand in your transfer papers, your transfer request. I think that's the only way that's going to actually happen. And I think Arsene Wenger, as naive as he is sometimes, as the old age is catching up to him, I don't think he's that stupid. I saw a thing. I usually check like gold.com sometimes. I check a bunch of different websites about different stuff, and I was just checking gold for match scores and stuff to see who won the Everton and West Ham FA Cup tie. But I saw on there was an article, or there was it was kind of like a picture show, like a slideshow of players who were going to be up for Ballon d'Or last year, or for next season. Who were the favorites? And they gave a list of 10 players. The first player that they listed, which is, it just boggles my mind. It really does. Is Eden Hazard. I still don't get it. Don't understand it. I don't understand what he has done so far in his career to even put him. He made the finalists out of all the names that were listed. He was one of the finalists, and I didn't get it. I just don't. I still don't get it. I don't get why he was a finalist. Even with his time, the second half of the season with Chelsea, which they fell off. His World Cup. His World Cup was a disaster. He didn't do shit. He was a ghost in the World Cup. You heard his name a few times, and you always heard the pundits saying, "Well, when is he going to show up?" You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't have to say that about a world-class player if he's deemed world-class. But for some reason, he has the title of world-class. I think he has a lot of potential. He could be a good player, but when your own manager comes out and says that he is lazy, that he doesn't give himself to the team, That's his own manager saying that type of stuff. That's what Jose Mourinho said about Eden Hazard in the summertime. That he is lazy, that he doesn't give himself to the team. When your own manager says that, how the fuck can you be world class? How the fuck can you have that much publicity behind you? Maybe he's a media darling, who knows? Maybe even you can even go further. Maybe it's the color of his skin. I don't know. Which would be bullshit. But the last name in that slideshow was Alexis Sanchez, and I laughed because they said he was a dark horse. And they gave the reasons of because Arsenal is not doing well right now. I think that's bullshit. I think that's bullshit that if you look at last season that CR7 won the Ballon d'Or, he didn't win anything. I don't think Real Madrid through 2013, I don't think they won a single trophy. But yet he won the Ballon d'Or. 2014 he won Champions League, they won Copa del Rey. He didn't have that great of a showing because of injury, but he still played and he still scored, I think, at least one goal in the World Cup, and of course this season already. But he won Champions League, he won Copa del Rey, and he got the Ballon d'Or now. But then they're saying Alexis Sanchez is a dark horse currently for Ballon d'Or. He's in the top 10 of names being mentioned by Goal.com, but like I said, they said he's a dark horse. Why? Without Alexis Sanchez on Arsenal this year, like I said, they would be lucky if they're 12th or 13th in the table currently without him. They don't make it out of Champions League group stage. He scored the goal in the playoff. He scored the only goal in the playoff to send us through to the group stage. It boggles my mind of how good he is playing. It still boggles my mind of how he didn't make the final list for the Ballon d'Or when you consider his World Cup, his first half of the season with Arsenal, even his second half of the season with Barcelona, of how his name didn't even make it to the final list because he was one of the players of the tournament and in the World Cup. He played that well. And of course, everybody was talking about his work rate, the goals that he scored. I believe he scored 2 or 3 goals, but he scored the equalizer against Brazil, which they should have went through. Chile should have went through, obviously, but they couldn't get the PKs right. But it just boggles my mind that they're saying that he's a dark horse. If he continues on like he is, and then he has a good summer with Chile, I believe it's the oh god, it's fucking losing it right now. I'm losing what the South American kind of cup is. Anyway, if he has a good summer and then he has a good first half of the season again with Arsenal next season, why shouldn't he be in that final list? Why should he even be a dark horse? If he keeps continuing playing like this, being the best player in the Premier League currently, he should be at least like top 5, top 10 easily without even breaking a sweat. And here's some statistics. I'm going to compare these with, everybody thinks that Eden Hazard is the best player in the Premier League, which he isn't. I'm sorry, just because he's on Chelsea and they're at the top of the table right now doesn't make him the best player. You can think Cesc Fabregas and Diego Costa of why they're on top of the table currently. Even their back line, you can thank not Eden Hazard, no, because I'm gonna show you I'm gonna give some of these stats and it's just mind-boggling. But through 32 games, Alexis Sanchez has played 32 games in all competitions. Eden Hazard has played 29. Through 32 games, Alexis Sanchez has 8 goals. Eden Hazard only has 11. Through all competitions, Alexis Sanchez has 9 assists. Eden Hazard only has 6. 18 goals, 9 assists. There's not another player in the Premier League right now who has contributed more chances and more goals and more goal opportunities with a total of what, even in the Premier League, 19 chances, 19 goals total. The only one that comes close to that is Cesc Fabregas, because he has 13 assists. But yet Eden Hazard's getting all the praise. They're saying that he's the best player in the Premier League. Not even close. He's a good player, but like I said in my last EP, if dribbling outside the box for 30 seconds at a time is considered a world-class player, then I guess Eden Hazard is a world-class player, and that he's the best player in the Premier League, because that's what he does. And the difference between Alexis Sanchez and Eden Hazard, Alexis Sanchez doesn't go missing in games. He doesn't go invisible in games. He's not lazy, like Jose Mourinho said about his own player, that he is lazy, that he doesn't give himself to the team. That's exactly what Alexis Sanchez does. He gives everything that he possibly has to Arsenal every single game that he plays. And there's reports from the training ground and from players. This one kind of quote that kind of pissed me off. That it was from Theo Walcott, where he had to tell Alexis Sanchez to kind of tone it down a little bit, to relax a little bit, because even the day after games, he doesn't want to relax. He wants to keep going. He wants to train even harder. That he's training the hardest out of every player. That he's going hard in training sessions. But then Theo Walcott is telling him to calm it down, to relax a little. Why? He shouldn't have to. Because that's how a world-class player trains. That's how a world-class player plays. If you want to be a world-class player, look at Alexis Sanchez. Look at what he does on and off the pitch, what he does in training ground. And obviously, guys like Oxlade Chamberlain said, screw that, I'm going to do exactly what he does. Because his whole play, his whole energy has really given a lift to the team. It's going to give him even more of a lift to the team when everybody gets back. When Ramsey and Ozil and Theo's back to his best. Because so many players are going to see what he does on the pitch. You're looking at what Oxlade Chamberlain does, and even Danny Welbeck, of how much those guys hustle. I mean, you even see in Giroud. Giroud doesn't have any pace to him whatsoever. He's not exactly the slowest person in the world, but he's not the fastest either. But you're seeing him give a little bit more over these last few games that he's played. Against Stoke, until he got booted from QPR. He's been running his ass off too. Santi Cazorla, same thing. In that Stoke City game, he was running his ass off the entire game. He was kind of, it's been great to see some of these Arsenal players finally get it. And finally say, you know what, if you want to be world class, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do. This is how you have to play. Now, I understand not everybody is built like Alexis Sanchez, because he's like one of those once in a generation players, of what his work rate is, of how he scores his goals, how great he is on the ball, how he could take on defenders, how good of a passer he is. He's a complete package. He really is. He can do it all. And obviously you could see by his stats. 18 goals, 9 assists in all competitions. It's crazy stats. It's just absolutely crazy stats that you're seeing from him right now. And of course the great thing about that is he's ours. He's on Arsenal. He's a gunner. And these are the type of players that are going to start building Arsenal back to what they were in the late 90s, in the 90s, and in the early 2000s. These are the type of players that other world-class players are going to watch and say, you know what, I want to go there and play with him. Because who wouldn't want to? He's addicting. He rubs off on everybody. And you're seeing that more and more each and every week. You're seeing more players start giving everything they have. You're looking at Coquelin. Who was that kid prior to the last month or so, month and a half? He couldn't even get a game. He couldn't get unless it was a, like a Capital One Cup game or that's the only time I really saw him play. Because basically everybody thought, well, he's going to get pushed out of the club, and once his contract runs out, they're just going to either sell him off or he's just going to leave on a free. Now it almost looks like Coughlin's going to be staying. And you're seeing his energy. You're seeing what he's doing. Is that part of Alexis Sanchez of Alexis Sanchez rubbing off on Coughlin? Possibly, because that dude runs his ass off too. That dude doesn't stop it either. And when these younger players see what and how a world-class player trains, it rubs off on everybody. And you're seeing it from these players, and it's great. You're seeing it week by week. You're seeing this team grow, hopefully, into another top 4 side. Because we definitely, something needs to change. And I think you're seeing that little by little. The Southampton games was a fucking disaster. It should have never happened. Should have never happened in that style. But, we had a goalkeeper that went fucking haywire. Who, smoking in the dressing room after the game. Who knows what he was smoking before the game? Sometimes you got to think about that with Szczesny. He's a little whacked in the head sometimes. His thought process is not all there, which is, I just don't get it. He has all the talent in the world, but he's just letting it go past him. I don't get players like that. But with Alexis Sanchez, like I said, he came from poverty, and when a guy is just going to give it everything that he has because he keeps on remembering where he came from, what less that he had before he became a professional footballer, the type of money he's making. And like I said too, I don't care where a player came from. Every player has an ego. Every player wants to be the headline. Everybody wants their name up in lights. And that's the same with Alexis Sanchez. Here at Arsenal, he's the man. He's going to continue to be the man. And I think he'll bring out the best even in Mesut Ozil. And I think they'll bring out the best with each other. Especially with Theo Walcott coming back, with Ramsey coming back. And like I kept on saying, like in other episodes before, our front line is going to be nasty. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's just going to be straight up nasty. But I guess that's enough on Alexis Sanchez. And, I think he's the best player in the Premier League right now. He's the most important player to anybody on any team currently. And even if you take that away, he's still the best player. He has all the tools. He does everything. Do you want a player who does everything, or do you want a player who is deemed lazy? There is no comparison. I'm sorry. Between him and Hazard, there is no comparison. None at all. Because I don't see it. I don't see what Hazard has done through his career so far to deem him what people say he is, because he's not. I watch games. I watch Chelsea games, unfortunately, sometimes. And I just don't see it. I don't see why people, basically get on their knees and suck his dick weekend after weekend, because I don't see it. His stats don't show it either for someone who's supposed to be that great of a player. And when someone's that great of a player, he doesn't go missing. Does Messi go missing? No. Does CR7 go missing? No. Does Iniesta go missing? Not really. Does Alexis Sanchez go missing in the game? Fuck no. There's times where I'm watching Arsenal games, I can't keep my eyes off of him because I'm just waiting to see what he does next. Because it's just great to watch him play. But I guess that's enough of the love affair about Alexis Sanchez. Just to go on to the Manchester City game a little bit. It's going to be a different game than it was last year. We were in top of the table. Obviously, it was going to be a big clash between us and City. We were kind of riding high at the time. City was playing the kind of like the underdog almost, just because we were atop of the table. But they were playing well too. They're kind of showing their ugly head of what damage they could actually do, because they had a little bit of a slow start last season. Of course, this season again they had a little bit of a slow start, but they're starting to finally kind of show themselves a little bit again of being one of those top teams. But it's going to be different. You're already seeing kind of a difference from this year even anyway, because of course they don't have Yaya Toure. He's in the African Cup of Nations, and he's not playing like he was last year. I mean, Yaya Toure had basically the career year from a CM that you could possibly have. Um, he was basically the best player, almost you could say, next to Suarez in the BPL last year. Uh, and he's just not having that same type of year. But the one player who has picked up his pace from last year even to this year is David Silva. That guy has really been taken over with the absence of Yaya Toure and the absence of just his play alone. You're really seeing him really kind of take the team on his back and just play amazing this year so far. Of course, we're going to still have Nasri, Jesus Navas. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of formation that City plays going into this game. For whatever reason, when they played us at the Emirates, of course, it was a 2-2 draw. It should have been 2-1 us. But, that was another game we let slip by. But they played in a 4-2-3-1. They didn't play two strikers up front. If they play two strikers up front, we're in trouble. I know Sergio Aguero is going to be back. Zeko might be back. And then you'll have Jovetic as well. So it's going to be interesting of what kind of formation they pick. If they pick a 4-4-2, I think we might be in trouble. But at the same time, we might not be that much in trouble just because of the fact that there's no Yaya Toure. You're probably going to be seeing like a Ferrandino and a Fernando, kind of like bossing that midfield, being the anchors to that back four. Ferrandino, he can get forward. He does pretty decently going forward. He obviously scored 2 goals against us last year at Manchester City. But as far as like Fernando, he's not that great going forward. He's more of a classic DM where he doesn't really like going forward. He's not that great on the ball. He's not that great of a passer in my opinion. But again, with having a possibility of a Jesus Navas, even a James Milner, he's a very try-hard, but again, he doesn't have that great pace. It's going to be interesting what kind of back four they pick as well. Company is supposed to be back as well. I'm not sure if he played against Everton. I didn't check the lineup for that game at all, but they should have all their players back. But again, it's going to be interesting what they show, what kind of formation they show. Will they go with one striker up top, or will they go with 2? If they go with 2, we might be in a little bit of trouble. You're really going to have to hope that Coughlin has his best game because he's going to be tested. Obviously, with that kind of attacking threat with an Aguero and David Silva and a Nasri and possibly a Jesus Navas or a James Milner, he's really going to have to pay attention to where he's at on the pitch. He's really going to have to pay attention. Is he within 5 yards of Koscielny and Mertesacker? And it's going to be interesting who Arsenal picks as far as their left back goes. Are they going to pick Monreal or are they going to pick Gibbs? I'd rather see Gibbs, obviously, just because he has that pace and he can track back. Of course, it's going to be interesting too of who they're going to pick as the right back. Obviously, it's going to probably be Chambers, but at the same time, that's also going to depend on who City picks. Who City might be throwing in there as their what would it be, left winger. Is it still going to be David Silva on the left wing, or is it going to be Nasri on the left wing? Is it going to be Milner possibly? Of course, Milner and Silva and Nasri even, they don't have great pace, so you really don't have to worry about, the only person you have to really worry about is Clichy possibly going forward, but is Karloff going to be playing instead of Clichy? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see what the lineups are going to be as far as our back line, their front line. I think that's going to determine everything for that game. It's going to be interesting who they pick, who Arsene Wenger is going to pick for our front line. Obviously you're going to see a Santi Cazorla. I'm not sure if Danny Welbeck is back from injury or not, if he's going to be fit for that game. But of course, a Giroud might bode well, just because we need that kind of like physical presence back there with a company and possibly a Di Michaelis who likes to play physical, obviously. But at the same time, would you rather go with a Danny Welbeck who has a lot of pace, who can still get up in the air? if we're going to be doing a lot of crossing or if we're going to be doing a lot of direct passing. It's going to be interesting to find out all that type of stuff going into Sunday. And I know I'm doing this a little bit early because you just don't know who's going to be fit. You don't know who's going to be fit, who's going to be able to play in the game or not. I know City has plenty of injuries. We have plenty of injuries. Obviously, we have plenty of guys coming back from injury. Same with them as well. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least, to see what kind of lineup is going on with Arsenal and City combined. And it's just going to be a fun game to watch. It should be. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are saying we should just go for it and we should just go balls out right from the get-go. I don't think we should do that. I think we should kind of like hang back for maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes and see what kind of game that Manchester City's going to play. Because if you remember from last year, excuse me, we did that at Manchester City last year. We went balls out. And what did Manchester City do? They just sat back. They sat back and they waited to counterattack. And we can't allow that to happen this year. We can't just go balls out and think we're going to take the game by the neck and take it. Because if they try to play the same exact way they did against us last year and they just play the counterattack all game, we're going to be fucked. Especially depending on who we pick in that game. I think you still have to go with Oxlade-Chamberlain. You obviously go with Alexis Sanchez, and then you obviously have to go with Santi Cazorla because Mesut Ozil is still trying to get back match fit. Same with Aaron Ramsey. Are they going to go with Rosicky or are they going to go with Aaron Ramsey in that game? I think they'll probably go with Aaron Ramsey rather than Rosicky. Just because Aaron Ramsey kind of brings that box-to-box mentality, which Rosicky doesn't really have that, to be honest with you. He's more of an attacking threat. Yes, he does track back. Yes, he does defend. But I think when you talk about having the intelligence of being a box-to-box CM, Aaron Ramsey has that a little bit more than Rosicky does. But again, Rosicky is playing pretty well. And of course, he's that kind of like that leader on the pitch as well that can keep everybody in line. Especially if you don't have like a Flamini back there, you can keep everybody in line for the most part. But I think they would go with Ramsey just because he adds that another goal-scoring threat. But like I said, I think it's going to be Santi and then possibly Aaron Ramsey and of course Coughlin. It could be Flamini. You never know. You never know with Arsene Wenger. He might try to go with a more experienced guy. But again, at some point we have to find out who Coughlin is. Can he play against the big boys? Can he play in games like this and thrive under pressure? Honestly, throw him out there. I think he deserves a start of the way he's been playing over the last month. That he deserves a start. That he deserves to play because at some point in time we need to move on from Arteta and Flamini. We need to move on from old legs. We need to get fresher, newer, younger legs in there. And Coughlin, other than a Flamini or even Arteta, he has the pace to get back. He, and again, like I said earlier, his legs don't stop moving. But again, he has to pay attention to where he is on the pitch. He has to pay attention to where he is in line with a Koscielny and Mertesacker to make sure he can provide that cover, to make sure he can track back fast enough to give those guys enough cover just in case. Like I said, they play more of a counter-attacking style on Sunday like they did last year at Manchester City. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. Of course, the bias in me, the homer in me, thinks that we can win this game. I think we can. I think emotions are high right now, coming off a FA Cup tie against last year's runners-up and dominating them, playing against Stoke City and dominating them. We need to keep on building on this confidence. This can be the turnaround right here. This game could be the turnaround of our season. This game could dictate the rest of our season. Currently, Manchester City is second in the table behind Chelsea, and right now they're the only contenders currently for Manchester City to even contend with Chelsea and to even possibly even win the Premier League. That's it. Southampton is currently 10 points off of Chelsea. Manchester City is 12 points off. We're 13 points off. There's no way we're going to catch them. The only team that can catch them is Manchester City. This could be the turning point of our season right now. This could give us all the confidence that we need to finish out the season, to go after that fourth spot again, even to go after the third spot hopefully. Um, to just get back into that top four because we need it. We need that confidence. Even going into the Champions League in February, late February, February 25th in Monaco, um, that can also give us all that confidence that we need as well. Um, 'Cause like I said, we definitely need it. This could be the turning point. If we win this game, I think we can win this game 2-1, 3-1, possibly 3-2. It's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a tight game just like it was back at the Emirates. Again, we should have won it at the Emirates. We let a late goal, let a set piece. Again, set pieces kind of kill us. We gotta look out for that, and we gotta be prepared for that. And but I think this could be the turning point of our season if we can win this game. Of course, I wouldn't be upset with a draw either. But again, at this stage in the season, we need 3 points no matter where we go, no matter who we play. We need 3 points. We need at least a point out of this. Um, if you compare it from last year, we got 0 points when we went up to the Northwest. When we went to Everton, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, we got 0 points. This year so far we have 2 points. We should have four. Of course, we tied Everton late to equalize there. But against Liverpool, we should have won that game. That should have been 3 points for us. But again, we let it slip again on a set piece and on a corner, obviously. So we should have 4 points going into this game. If we can win this, again, it would be more points that we didn't have from last year. And again, this is one of the top four sides, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. We have to start beating these teams, not just drawing, not just getting a point. We have to start beating these teams to show that we're taking that next step as a club. That we should be up there with talks as one of the best clubs in the world. So hopefully we can get 3 points. Hopefully we can play our best game that we have not seen so far. I mean, we've seen it this year, but we haven't seen enough of it. Like I said, it could be our turning point going into the rest of the season. It could really catapult us and give us that confidence that we can beat anybody. We can beat the title champions from last year and the title contenders for this year. Because it's a two-horse race, and I'm sure Chelsea's going to be hoping and praying that we beat City this weekend. But again, this could be something that when we play Chelsea later on, that we can beat them as well. But yeah, hopefully for a good weekend. Again, this is going on for a little bit too long. If anything else comes out, especially transfer news or anything like that, I'll maybe throw a short video up there before the City game. But hopefully 3 points for us.